All right. Good evening. It is that time. It is the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network. Joining me from his truck, trying to escape the holiday hustle and bustle with, I think y'all are putting up a ninth Christmas tree at this point. Am I right about that?
You are close. We just got done with the outside last week, so I mean we got 7 in the house right now. So the good thing is all I got to do is get them out of storage. I don't have to put anything up as far as lights and decorations and stuff. Otherwise, I'd probably get shot if I did that because my wife handles all that. So not allowed to touch any of the Christmas trees. Outside of just putting them up in the location they belong.
And she takes care of all the decorating. But man,
Yeah.
we were in a winter wonderland decoration hiatus. Both of us were. We were putting together. I was Tim the Toolman Taylor. I was putting together a climbing wall, and the last thing we have to do is mount it to the wall. And I don't know that I want to trust myself to mount a climbing wall to the wall. We got the rest of it put together. It was like I think it was sent from IKEA, or it might as well have been, because it came in a box and it felt like a million pieces. And
for sure. And you're going to use every bit of those pieces too. Screws and all.
And the instructions are clear as mud. There's no words. It's just pictures that you're not real sure exactly what the picture means. So you have to kind of guess. And then we had to make a couple runs to Home Depot to get the right drill bits, because it was there was different screws. Some screws had a Phillips head. Some screws had an Allen head. So it's like, okay, well, we got to, gotta make a run to Home Depot. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of cussing, and a rope ladder that I'm not sure if it's put together correctly, but I'm done with it at this point. So,
so you'll find out real soon.
We'll find out real soon if it just comes completely unraveled and tumbles about 10 feet to the ground. But that'll be fun. So, holiday cheer. But got lots to talk about, man. But before we do that, we are presented by betonline.ag. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC, everything in between. Head to betonline.ag today, and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game, it starts here. So we're going to talk about some of these games that we're going to bet on. There's some college football playoff games, and Georgia Southern is playing right now as we are live with you. They're playing Sam Houston State, who has a little bit of resurgence in their first ever FBS bowl game, soon to be led by Phil Longo. But so we got a lot to talk about in that regard. But since you were putting up your army of Christmas trees, and I was assembling the climbing wall. I don't want to say the climbing wall from hell, because I think eventually it's going to be fun, but you get the picture. But Georgia played in this game called the SEC Championship. We previewed it, talked about what they needed to do, and they did that. But the biggest story coming from that game is not actually the win, because that happened, and Georgia's defense did everything they needed to suffocate Texas. But the last play before halftime saw a defender almost put his entire body weight on Carson Beck's arm, bending it backwards, and something popped in that elbow. And I don't believe, and I was talking to our baseball coach about it today, and he goes, yeah, there's no way that UCL is not torn. He goes, there is not a chance that UCL is not torn. But Gunnar Stockton came in and did a hell of a job. And I'm excited to kind of see what they have in store for him when it's not a surprise that he's in and they're actually preparing him as quarterback one.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He's definitely QB1. I mean, the excitement from the sideline, we kind of got an in with George Bobo, Coach Bobo's dad, who they're from Thomasville, so we see him all the time. He told us that when they announced that Gunnar was going in, the locker room absolutely erupted. And that's a testament to him. To his teammates trust him to go in. He's prepared. You know what I mean, and to come in and lead the team, to victory. That's big on him.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? To come in, they didn't have any training wheels on. They kind of let him throw the ball around a little bit. He had one bad play, which was the pick right there toward the end. But that's a freshman mistake. He's trying to do a little bit too much with the ball right there. Just kind of take the sack and then let's punt the ball away. But other than that, I think he played well. The play that he got knocked out on, clean hit. You know what I
Very
mean?
clean hit.
Very, very, very clean hit. Gets us down there. And I think the telltale of that is Carson coming in and being able to hand the ball off to ETN for the game-winning touchdown. Was monumental. For him to be able to come in and I know he's hurt. I know that elbow's torn up, man. Bless his heart. And to come in and to hand that ball off and finish the game off the way we did. That's huge going into the playoff right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Georgia team has a lot of positive momentum going with this. And I think they found, and we said this about the Georgia Tech game, like they kind of found themselves late in that Georgia Tech game. And that defense was like, wait a second, like we can actually do this. And they found out what works. Constrict the space, make teams beat you deep, which they're not going to have time to throw the ball to beat you deep. And then occasionally they're going to hit big plays on you, which that's called football. The other team has scholarship players too. So that's going to happen. But you limit those opportunities by constricting space and limiting the variety of ways that they can hurt you. Because if you try to play too conservatively, it opens up a lot of possibilities. I know as an offensive coordinator, you and I both would love to see a defense back off a little bit and give us, quote, respect. Hey, we can't get beat deep, so we're going to back off. Well, that tells me it goes, okay, well, we're just going to nickel and dime you to death and force you to come up again. And I know you're not confident coming up, so then we're going to beat you deep. And then I can basically do whatever I want as a play caller if you're giving me a lot of space. When you constrict that space is when the play card gets real tight.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. And the fact that we were able to get pressure on yours again in this game. I think the game plan going into this was just be aggressive. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that Georgia has been that's been really successful for us, is just being aggressive with that front seven that we have and get to the quarterback and back in, just do what you can. You know what I mean? And Everett came in, had a really, really good game. Um, did we give up a couple of big plays? Absolutely. And that's going to happen when you're aggressive. You know what I mean? But if we can get pressure on the quarterback, that's what helps our defense. That's what helps our secondary. And you saw we got a couple turnovers, got a lot of sacks, a lot of negative plays. And Texas was never really able to get into rhythm. And that's one thing that Sarkisian does. Once he gets in the rhythm, he's got you. He's one of the most inventive play callers in the nation right now. As far as taking advantage of people once he gets in the rhythm. But we never really allowed Texas to get in rhythm, and that's essentially what won us the football game.
Yeah, no doubt. And just being able to get hits on him, disrupt the throwing lanes, all that stuff. That's what Georgia's defense is going to need moving forward. And that's what I'm glad that they found themselves doing moving forward, is being able to get pressure on the quarterback, being able to do whatever they need to do pressure-wise to be able to get to the quarterback and to limit the run game and to make tackles in space, which they hadn't done a good job of consistently throughout the course of the season. I really enjoyed that aspect of our game plan, and the fact that we were just like, you know what, we're going to be aggressive. We're just gonna come after you. We're gonna be aggressive, because sitting back is not working.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're not that type of defense. You know what I mean? And we don't have the guys on the back end like we've had in the past to be able to do that. So those guys in the trenches, from Jalen Walker, and all those guys up front, that front seven, Chambers, all those guys. Stackhouse had a really good game. Brinson came in, all those guys have got to do a really good job getting to the quarterback, and they did their job. You know what I mean? And Kurt Schumann, had a plan. They stuck with the plan. You can tell they didn't defer from that plan either. They're like, we're going to play aggressive in this game, and we're going to do it all night. And eventually, everything kind of fell into place. We got a little lead. going into overtime, we hold them, and hey, we come out with a victory. And that's huge. You know what I mean? To everybody was like, no, we don't need to play this game, blah blah blah. But now we're SEC champs. We
Yeah.
got a bye week, get some guys healthy, get a couple practices in to kind of tweak some things, and then we get a home game. So, I mean, I think that's huge.
Yeah, SEC champs, number 2 seed, all that good stuff. But now moving forward, I think the game plan was more geared towards what Carson Beck can do against Texas, and they had to have they had to have a surprise game plan, and they had to adjust some things on the fly for Gunnar Stockton, which I don't think they had a game plan that was optimized for him. I think they were just trying to survive the rest of that game with Gunnar and saying, okay, let's get out of here with a win and then see what's what with Carson. But now that you've got Gunnar Stockton as your number one, and now you've got all this time to plan for him being your number one guy. What do you do now with Gunnar Stockton? Because to me, he's an elite runner. So I think you've got to feature some quarterback design runs. I think you've got to kind of redesign what you do and open up different chapters of your playbook that you didn't use at all for Carson, that you now use for Gunnar Stockton, because he is that true dual threat.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think you go back and I think you call Coach Monken and be like, hey, look, I know you're busy with Baltimore right now. You're trying to make the playoffs, win the division, all that. But hey, let's kind of talk about some things you did with Stetson Bennett. You know what I mean? And go back and look at kind of those things, the game plans with him. Because, Gunnar Stockton's that kind of guy, that kind of player. He's going to have to use his legs. He's going to have to run, for us to win. So I think you go back, look at those games and kind of pull some things that we've done in the past, in those championship runs that we had, and use those. You know what I mean? Just because here's the thing, you can't rely on just the deep ball. You can't rely on just throwing the ball the whole game. So you're gonna have to find creative ways to run the football with Gunnar and create running lanes for your running backs. All right. So then that's gonna open up the pass for you. And that's gonna give some confidence to our receivers too. Gunnar comes in and Arian Smith catches a curl route for a first down. Boom. After dropping a dig earlier, after dropping a screen earlier, just little things like that kind of gets those guys confident and being like, hey, we're going to run the football, kind of getting a rhythm doing that, and then we're going to start throwing the ball. And that's kind of what our offense is based off of, run the football to open up the pass, and then that obviously gives confidence to our receivers down the road in the game.
Yeah, I mean, just easy throws for Gunnar too. I mean, get his confidence going. Will prove huge dividends as far as trying to get defenses on the ropes a little bit and get defenses on their heels a little bit too. And getting Gunnar, the more confident you get Gunnar within the game and within the flow of the game, settle him down, because I can see him being a little intense and going and maybe making some mistakes because he's juiced up.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a few of those hits down with the quarterback runs. You get a couple hitches, a couple of flare screens, couple of whatever you want to throw that's easy, and then you start pushing the ball downfield because he can. It's just you got to get him comfortable, and I think he's somebody that you've got to kind of get him settled into the game before you really start slinging it around.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and I think we're gonna end up matching against Notre Dame. So you go back and kind of look what we did with Jake Fromm when he was a freshman. You know what I mean, and playing against Notre Dame, on the road and at home. And kind of see the game plan that we use there. A young quarterback going into a big game like that. The atmosphere is going to be great. Atmosphere is going to be wild. So what can we do to get him comfortable? What can we do to not overwhelm him, but also show him that we have confidence in to go out here and win this football game for us. Because right now he's QB1, so the game's on his shoulders. You know what I mean? And that confidence is going to carry him a long way, especially the practices right now leading into that game. So I'm excited to kind of see, when that game kicks off, we get on offense to kind of, what they've done over the last couple of weeks, to get him ready and prepared to play.
The guys believe in him. They're jacked up because, I think there was something to the fact that Carson had become a little big in his celebrity status that I think turned the guys off a little bit. So they weren't as juiced up. They weren't as amped up. I mean, they love Carson, don't get me wrong, but I think there was something to that. But you get Gunnar in there, and it's like, okay, so why the change? I mean, part of it is, hey, we know we have to rally around this guy, but I felt like it was more than that.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt there was more, and I've talked about that, with our head coach at Thomasville, Coach DeLay. He was a GA when I was there, and we talk about that all the time. And there was there's a it factor that Gunnar had coming in. You know what I mean? To where his teammates were like, hell yeah, like this guy's in the game. We're gonna do whatever we can, to win this football game and make him comfortable when he comes in. So, and that happens. There's not a knock on Carson at all. The celebrity status. The coming in and being a Heisman candidate. Preseason things like that. That can kind of go to your head to where your teammates see the difference in you. In games, and we saw it. Just as fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The difference in last year and this year. You know what I mean? So it happens, and that's not a knock on him at all. But now, you got a kid who's kind of raw coming in, nothing to really expect, but he's excited to be there. Um, he's a great football player. He's a phenomenal football player. I remember watching him from Rabun County, slinging the ball around, running people over. You know what I mean? And he's a tough kid, to take that hit and get up. I watched him against Thomasville, his last game. I mean, kid's got a bloody nose, everything, but he cleans his jersey up, goes right back in. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of kid that you're getting. You're getting a tough, hard-nosed kid. And I think the team rallies around that. He's been even keel, and it's his time to shine right now. And I think the team loves that. And I think this Georgia team can do some great things in the playoffs right now if we can just all stay together and keep the main thing going forward.
And I think they will. I think this team is a little bit more put together. I think you're starting to see some receivers that are buying in a little bit. I think there's a good chance we get back Colby Young. I think a lot of the stuff he's cleared on. I think he's just waiting for the final piece of that puzzle to be completely cleared and exonerated based on what happened. So that would be a little bit of good news. They cleared him on Title IX stuff through the university, but I think they're just waiting on the final go ahead from the courts to be like, yeah, you're good. This case is done, which is not, and I think it's just a bunch of legal red tape. But Dylan Bell, I think will continue to make plays. I think the focus is going to be there because they know what's at stake now. Arian Smith, if he can just find a little more consistency, which has been frustrating all year long. But getting the tight ends involved has been in every one of Georgia's big wins. That's been the main theme. Get dealt, get lucky involved, and great things happen.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think, even with the drops, I think Arian Smith, I think I saw a stat the other day that he has a chance to go over 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So here's the deal. We don't have a team that has just one guy, that's just a superstar. We have a team full of really, really good football players. And I think now we've kind of realized that, hey, we got a team full of really good football players. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to feed off of that and go offensively and defensively. If we play as a team, you know what I mean? And that's the big thing that, Coach Smart and that coaching staff preach, being a team. I think we finally reached that point in the season now, and going into the playoffs is huge. Really, really huge. So everybody plays their part. And, I think we can make a nice little run out of this thing.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's just pieces coming together. And, you look at this receiving core and you're like, there's no real superstar. And with Ladd McConkey leaving, you're thinking, okay, well, this receiving core is going to struggle a little bit because they don't have that alpha guy. They don't have that main guy that, hey, when you're in trouble, just, because last year when you're in trouble, find 84, find 19, and you're good to go. This year you're not, it's not quite as fortunate. You do have Lucky, so find 7. That's usually a good option. But who else? It varies. Because 11 has just been inconsistent, which is Arian Smith. Dylan Bell has had some dropsies here every once in a while. Dominic Lovett, the receivers, I feel like have regressed a little bit, which is disappointing, just overall. But there's a ton of talent there, and when they're focused, hell, man, the sky's the limit. The going back to the Bama game, if Arian Smith catches that first bomb on the first series, we might be talking about a different ball game there.
Mm-hmm. And I
And,
think it goes back to not being able to run the football. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's when you're able to just hand the ball off, and you know this as well as I do as a coordinator.
Mhm.
When you're just able to hand the ball off, get 3-4 yards, I mean that's huge. You know what I mean? We're playing musical chairs up front. You know, with our offensive line, I think we finally settled with the guys that we got right now.
Yeah.
And just being able to hand the ball off kind of takes some pressure off of everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's huge. You know, our offensive line and having the pass pro the whole entire game. You know, we're not sitting here trying to read defense, read coverages, and things like that. It's huge. So establishing the run game, kind of like we did against Texas and really against Georgia Tech as well,
Yeah.
has been huge these last couple of games too. And like I said, all of that is culminating into this playoff appearance. You know, moving forward.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's been the key. And I think Frazier coming on has really kind of eased that a little bit. Now that ETN's healthy, you get a really good 1-2 punch, and you don't have to lean so heavily on ETN. And you've got Nate Frazier coming in as well. So I really like this run game, this two-headed monster you got, because ETN is very slick, very smooth, like his brother. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
just like his brother. Very smooth, runs the ball with great instincts. And then you have Frazier, who's like a freaking bat out of hell. Um, you
That
know,
young man runs the ball really, really hard,
yeah,
really, really hard. I'm like,
yes, he does.
will you please just hold on to the football, baby? You keep running that, you keep toting that rock,
Just
but
run
please hold
hard,
on to the ball.
hang on to the football, and you'll get more reps.
And let's not forget, we got Cash Jones,
Mhm.
you know, who's come in, you know, coming out the backfield, catching the ball. You know, he's kind of like Cook. You know what I mean? He can come out back, he can line up at receiver, he can do things like that.
Yeah,
And you still got Robinson, who's come in and spelled a couple of times here and there. Um, you know, so we've got a lot of weapons that we can use. And I think if we use all of them, you know, there's no stone left unturned. You know, now you got to use all your bullets right now. So all those guys got to be ready to play. And like I said, running the football takes a lot of pressure off those guys out wide. You know what I mean? It's not pressure. Oh, I have to make this catch. Yes, you do. You know what I'm saying? But that pressure just kind of, you know, leaves you once you're able to still stay on track, being able to run the football and move the chains.
yeah. It becomes more of a, hey, I get to catch this ball, not okay, I
Yes.
have to catch it because it's third and a mile, and you know. So looking at the college football playoff, right? Conventional wisdom says it's going to be Notre Dame, right? We all think it's going to be Notre Dame, but how can Indiana win this game?
I think Indiana win this game just by being Indiana. You know what I mean? If you go back and look at, you know, the Ohio State game, I think they lost out on a lot of opportunities against Ohio State. You know, I really thought they were going to win that football game. You know what I mean? They've got a really, really good head coach. You know, they got some really, really good players. Um, you know, so do they have a chance to win? There's absolutely no doubt, but they're going to have to play. I think Coach Freeman's got Notre Dame kind of where he wants them. I think that loss to what was it, NIU?
Yeah,
Northern Illinois just kind of woke them up a little bit. You know, you can't just roll your helmet out there and think, oh, I'm Notre Dame. You know, we're going to win. Absolutely not. You know, so the biggest question for me is can Indiana stop the run? Because that's what they're going to do. That's what Notre Dame's known for, running the football. That's what Coach Freeman likes. He's a defensive guy. So, you know, defensive guys are football, running the football, very physical brand of football. So, for me, I think if they can stop the run, I think they have a really good chance to win the football game.
yeah, I do too. I think just their attitude, man. I love their attitude. They follow Kurt Signetti. They follow his lead to a T, man. He comes in and the whole Google me thing. I win. Indiana's kind of taken on that personality, and a lot of people are off put by that, which I don't understand. Do you want your coach to be? He does have some humbleness. Like he's not just some total egomaniac, but I do like a head coach to have an ego.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
You
it.
have
If
to. I
if
love
my
it.
head coach is not acting like that, then he doesn't need to be my head coach.
Yeah. Like I know like my Rock acted like that. Now he's down at Savannah Country Day now, but he acted like that to a certain degree. Like I mean he was great. He had a great way of doing it, but I mean he was, hey, we're freaking good, man. We're And every coach I've ever worked for has been like that.
Yeah,
And
there's nothing wrong with knowing, with thinking and knowing that you're a good football team. Absolutely nothing. It's the people outside that think is arrogant or, try to spin it any type of way. It's like, no, like we're a good football team, and we're gonna go out here and we're gonna prove that we're a good football team. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
just because I let you know doesn't mean that I'm some arrogant, cocky person that, it's going to lead, his arrogance is going to lead to the downfall because every team's going to be gunning for him. Well, I got news for you. If you start collecting wins, they're going to gun for you anyway. They're coming for you.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
target on your
Ain't no
back.
fun when the rabbit got the gun.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And they're in Ohio State, they could not sneak up on Ohio State because by the time they played Ohio State, it's like, okay, we know who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
They got Ohio State's best shot, which I still don't think was good enough. But yeah, I think this spread is what, 8.5 or 7.5? It's 7.5, right?
I want to say yes. But I gotta go back and look.
Yeah. I think they could cover that for sure, and maybe even every bit win.
There's no doubt. We're
SEC,
gonna have to prepare. We're gonna have to prepare really well for either team.
it's 7.
Both teams are physical football teams. You got one from the Big Ten, one that's independent, pretty much. They're gonna run the football. They're gonna want to establish the run. You know what I mean? So defensively, let's just stay aggressive. There's not really much to say about our defense, but just stay aggressive. Keep doing the things that we're doing. Find some guys who can come in and play backup if you need to. But other than that, I mean, just let those boys play football. And that's pretty much what I think Coach Schumann and, that defense staff, figured out. And let's not forget having Coach Muschamp on the sideline on that Saturday night was really huge too.
As soon
You
as
know
they
what I
gave him
mean?
the headset, I was like, yeah, we're hey,
Him
I
coming
ain't
back,
worried,
I was
man.
like, oh yeah,
I ain't
we're
worried
about to win
about
this
this
football
one.
game. You know what I mean?
Game,
And
set, match.
him coming back is huge for us. You know what I mean? And being a presence on that sideline and making adjustments as well. You got to think we got 4 defensive coordinators on that side of football. You know what I mean? And that's counting the head coach. So there's a lot of great minds on that side of football. So they're gonna get them in the right spot. Just do your job. Do your job. Do it to the best of your ability. And just do what you've been coached to do.
Yeah. Are you gonna take Indiana here?
I'm gonna take Indiana here. I think they got a really good shot to win. Now, both teams play in the cold, so it's not like a Florida team that's got to go to Chicago and play. You know what I mean? So I think the weather's not a factor. You know what I mean? So I think this game is pretty evenly matched, if in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this spread should be 3, but or maybe even like a 2.5 or 1.5, damn near pick them. But I'm taking Indiana too. And on SEC After Dark, I went with the safe. I went with Vegas on SEC After Dark, but I think I'm gonna change it. I've been back and forth all week. I'm telling people at school when we talk about it because they like to ask my opinion on football things. Let's talk to the football coach about football. Right? So it's like, is Indiana going to beat Notre Dame? That's not the game they're really talking to me about, but that's one that came up, and I was like, yeah, I think Indiana can get them. But the game that's really coming up that won't affect us until, well, maybe never, maybe won't ever affect us, but Tennessee, Ohio State. I think, and a lot of people are like, well, it's going to be cold, and I don't know if people know this. I don't know if people have studied geography, but like Knoxville and Columbus, Ohio are not that far apart.
No.
It snowed in Knoxville a week and a half ago. It snowed in Tennessee. None of it stuck really, but it snowed. It was cold enough for it to actually snow, and it like stuck on the cars
Mm-hmm.
and then melted away the next morning. But like it I don't know if people know this, but it snows in Tennessee. So we're used to this cold weather thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and so people think that this weather is going to be a factor. Well, Tennessee runs the ball and plays defense. So like Ohio State's screwed in my opinion. Like they're 7.5-point favorites. I'm not buying that one bit.
No. If you go back and look at the Michigan game, if I'm Tennessee, All right, I'm going back and look at the Michigan game. I would even go back and look at the Penn State game as well. I wouldn't worry, and a little bit of the Oregon game, just to kind of for our passing concepts and things like that. But I'm looking at how Penn State and who did you say? Penn State and
Michigan.
Michigan. I will look at how they attacked Ohio State defensively and offensively, and kind of incorporate that into my game plan.
They dominated the trenches
because they really, and if you look at Tennessee defensively, that's where they make the money at, in the trenches. So that's exactly what I'm looking at if I'm Tennessee. If I want to win this football game, those are the games I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm looking at Michigan especially because, like, I know it's a rivalry game, and I get it. Like, Michigan was jacked up, but Ohio State should have won that by 3 touchdowns.
No, there's no doubt. No doubt.
They should have, Michigan is pitiful this year. They were awful. And even them giving you their best effort and their best shot because it's a rivalry game, still, I think should have made it 3 touchdowns because they're that bad. And they pushed Ohio State around all freaking day long. They pushed them around. I know the score is only 13-10. That just proves how pitiful Michigan actually is. Like the way they dominated that game and only won 13-10. Just shows you that Michigan's pretty bad, and they pushed around Ohio State. And Ohio State's an extremely talented team that is just soft.
Yes.
And
they're not nearly as physical as they were last year at all.
And it's proven by the fact that their head coach is just standing there befuddled while his team is brawling at midfield. He's not trying to pull anybody anywhere. He's not trying to separate. He's not trying to have any ounce of control in that thing. He's just standing there befuddled like, what happened?
Yeah, that's not a guy I want to play for.
No.
He's on the opposite end of that spectrum.
No, he is like, you're like, really? Like, come on, dude. Like, you got to do something. I don't care. Like, grab somebody by the back of the jersey and yank them away from the fracas and continue to do that and have your staff in there ripping guys away. But like, your players are getting beat on by, Michigan staffers, journalists. Like, if you look at it, it's freaking, like, I don't want to say it's hilarious because it's never hilarious for anybody to get their ass beat, but it's just like hilarious in the fact that it's like, good Lord, like Ohio State they're getting like pummeled and nobody's doing anything about it. Like, nobody's doing anything to try to stop it.
Yeah, that's a problem. That is a huge problem.
Yeah. And I'm like, Jesus, like, what the and Ryan Day's over there talking to somebody. He's like, what's going on here? Well, he's just looking at it. Like, it'd be one thing if he was like getting interviewed doing media and he turns around and goes, oh crap, and then responds, but he doesn't do that. And he wasn't getting interviewed. He was just like standing there with a dumbass look on his face. Like, to me, if I'm the AD and I see that, because that was all over national TV all day long. That same clip of him saying, what happened, was on everything all day, everywhere. And still is. If I'm the AD, I just don't see how you can continue to employ that guy. Like, you fire him and you say, hey, we fired him because of this. Like, it ain't because of the win-loss record. Because you don't want to fire a guy and have the illusion that you're an AD with unreasonable expectations. But getting the shit kicked out of you for the 4th year in a row by your rival, who you're supposed to win against, who you're 3 touchdown favorites against, and that happens and you do nothing. Sorry, bud.
Sorry, dude.
We're hiring Vrabel.
Yeah, that's wild. I could never sit there and watch it, and yet alone just let my kids do it.
No good coach will. No, you think Kirby's standing there going, what's going on? You think Kirby's doing that?
Yeah, nah, bro.
Hell, even Saban's old ass will run in there and throw some guys around. Like
Yeah.
Saban would get in there, and he's 72
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
71 or however old he is. He's in his 70s.
Yeah,
He
we
would be in there.
can't let that happen. Can't let that happen.
No, you can't. But nonetheless, I think Tennessee's going to dominate the line of scrimmage, and I think that's going to be the story of the game. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, and that's it. You're going to be like, oh, well, this Ohio State team is frauds. Well, we knew that. We knew the matchup. You know, as soon as they did this, you knew Tennessee immediately had the advantage up front. Ohio State has great wide receivers. Not going to matter. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, you got to get it off.
Yeah. And then Clemson, Texas, that game, Texas is feisty. Or I mean, not Texas. Clemson is feisty. I just don't think they have enough, though. I don't think they have enough firepower to put this one
I
off.
think the fact that they let SMU come back the way that they did just proves that point.
I think SMU is going to beat Penn State. Are you going to be bold? Call that shot?
I think they have a really good shot at winning that football game. I still got to go with Penn State just from how they played Oregon, but I think they have a really good shot to pull it off if they can get Penn State frustrated. They got the big guy, by the number of 44. That's pretty daggum good.
Yeah.
That even Oregon couldn't stop. So they can find a way to get him the football early and often. I think SMU is going to be in trouble. Now, SMU can't go down like they did against Clemson because Penn State's defense is not Clemson's defense.
Yeah,
so
if
they're going to have to match score for score or hold on to a lead. But I think if they can stop 44, I think they have a really good chance to win football game. I think defensively they have a good chance to win football game.
Yeah, SMU is very explosive. I love their offense. They just got to start faster. If they can start fast, if they can start the way they started the second half against Clemson, I think they win this game. I think if they let Penn State and that crowd get in it early, because if that crowd's in it, it's really difficult to get that crowd out of it. Like Penn State's crowd especially, like it's tough to get them out of it. But then again, it's a weird time of year because like they're not in school right now. And it's just one of those weird scenarios where this game might not be as raucous as it usually is. So I don't know. Like this game's weird to me.
I don't know that he called for a wideout. So you know what happens in those times.
Yeah. Well, James Franklin. Can he not be James Franklin? He's like, I think he's winless at Penn State against ranked opponents or highly ranked opponents, top 10 opponents or something like that. It's something stupid where you're just like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, he's about to make something shake right now. I'm telling you right now. I feel it. I think SMU has a really good chance to win the football game, but I got a feeling that they're gonna make some noise, Penn State, if they can get past SMU.
Well, they got an easy road. They got Boise. I think if they beat SMU, I think they cruise against Boise, and then they go against Georgia.
Yeah.
Then they get them Dogs. Them Dogs is hell.
Yep.
I saw this one kid's like, yeah, I got Boise State winning it all. I was like, you don't, do you? Like,
nah, bro.
I was like, you're not serious, are you? I'm to the point of like, if Georgia loses, if Georgia can't win, then it better be Oregon and Dan Lanning.
Yeah, I think if it's not Georgia, I think it is Oregon. Oregon's tough to beat, man. That defense and that offense, with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah,
they're pretty sporty now,
and they're focused too. I love the fact that I don't know if we talked about this or if I talked about this on another show, but I love the fact that Dan Lanning played the Inglorious Bastards thing. He's like played the clip, where the bear Jew and this guy wants to die for his country, oblige him. And he was like, yeah, I forget who it was against, but this team wants to take a conference loss, oblige them. He pulled the whole Inglorious Bastards routine. I was like, geez, this guy, he studied under Kirby. He took good notes. Like
they all learn from an honest person. the Nick Saban school of being a head coach, and it just passes down from person to person wherever they go.
Kirby took the best notes, though.
Yeah,
Out of
he's
all the
passed it
assistants.
on. Fran Brown's doing really good at Syracuse.
Yeah, he is.
Pull off an upset win against Miami. Coach Lanning is doing a phenomenal job. So that tree is steady branching, even though he's not at the helm at Alabama anymore. Coach Saban left a lasting impression on a lot of people.
He did. And he's reaching out to all of those guys, and but Fran Brown's not long for Syracuse. I can tell you that. Syracuse is not going to be able to afford him pretty soon. And if Kirby somehow goes to like the New York Jets or somewhere, like I think AD's first call is I think Josh Brooks' first call ought to be to Fran Brown or Dan Lanning.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You think Dan Lanning comes back? Because he's pretty happy in Oregon. Do you think he comes back to Athens if that?
No, I think Oregon's got enough money in the bank about that factory down the road from them to pay him to pay him enough to stay. That
little shoe factory down the road.
Yeah, that has Michael Jordan shoes and all that stuff. Yeah, I think they got enough to pay him.
Who's that? Who's Michael? Is he that guy that everyone's comparing to LeBron James? It's like Michael Jordan. Is that who that is?
Yeah, whose shoes people still wear on the rig. No matter how much they cost. Yeah, those.
Oh, that guy. Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. He's only got he's only gotten the sweep of NBA trophies like four times in his career.
Yeah, no big deal or anything.
Nah, no big deal. But LeBron, who can't win unless he assembles a super team.
Yeah.
The super team was built around Jordan. I don't think people realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the front office built the super team around Jordan. Didn't have to move. Jordan's like, hey, I'm here. We're gonna suck for a little while, and then you get Scottie Pippen, and then he made John Paxson into a star.
Oh, there's no doubt. Horace Grant, that whole group, man. It's
like Steve Kerr, really.
Yeah.
Like Steve Kerr was a good college basketball player, but like, do you think he's Steve Kerr without Jordan?
Nah, bro.
He ain't a superstar. Like, yeah, they got Rodman, but they got a well past his prime, spiraling in a downward spiral Dennis Rodman when he came to the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't Pistons Dennis Rodman.
No.
But he was still valuable, and he still did the rebounding and defense, which is all they needed him for.
That's right. That's right. You got to get good pieces around him. I think that's what Georgia's got. Good pieces, to make a nice run at this thing. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Georgia versus Oregon for the national championship.
Yeah, and in that regard, screw Oregon. Sorry, Jimmy. Love you, but yeah, you're not winning that game.
Yeah.
So, but we're gonna leave you there. Well, actually, we're not gonna leave you there. Give me your opinion on Dane Key.
I think going into this receiver room, I think he's a good addition. I think although we don't have that number one guy, I think we need that number one guy, because that guy's going to make everybody better. You know what I mean? So we had Ladd, which kind of took the pressure off everybody else. You had the key on Ladd, which opened everything up for everybody else. We had Bowers that opened everything up for everybody else. I think Oscar Delp, going into next year, hell, even into this playoff run is going to be, a bigger factor going in, Lucky, all those guys. So you're missing another key person out wide that kind of takes the pressure off everybody. And I think he's going to do that, with his presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm over the moon because like that guy he just commands the ball and he does something with it. Like, how you have guys who are like, I need the ball. And then you throw them the ball and they don't do anything with it. Like this guy is a true playmaker and he's just everywhere. Like when we played against Kentucky, I kept saying, who the hell is this key guy? Who the hell is 6? This guy's just crushing us. Like every play, he's wide open. He's making a catch. He's running. Mm-hmm. Can we not cover this guy? Like Barryon Brown is the dude. They can't get the ball to him. we covered him just fine, but we can't cover Dane Key. Like, what's going on here? You know, I'm like, find a way to cover that guy, and we couldn't.
Nah,
And now he's with us, so I'm happy about that.
there's no doubt. It's great when you get guys like that. You know, hopefully, you know, Kobe Young gets everything straightened out to where he can come back, and you know, it's different when you got guys, you know, out wide. And I say that, you know, just off of what I said earlier about running the football, when you got guys that can go and make those plays for you as well, you know,
Yeah.
it makes your offense that much more fun, that much more. You
Uh-huh.
know, your call sheet is at your disposal at that point. So you're not trying to, you know, put a band-aid on a gunshot wound and try to figure it out. You
Yeah.
know, you're basically like, oh man, this is open, let's do it. You know, we're
Yeah.
basically with that. You go back to the national championship runs. You go back to that. You know,
Yeah.
that style of offense. You know, to where hell, no matter what I call, it's going to work.
Yeah, because you've got guys to execute it. Like, you've got Dane Key, he's just going to be open. Like, you just know it. Like, you can get on a rhythm. You can get on a timing rhythm with him because he's gonna be there. And so it makes your quarterback feel comfortable when he knows. Like, I think part of what Carson Beck was going through, and part of the reason why he was just off kilter, you know, was like our receivers just went through a slump
Mm-hmm.
where they couldn't get separation, and when they did, they couldn't catch the ball. So he was double clutching. He wasn't trusting his reads. He just wasn't playing with the same level of confidence and throwing the ball, knowing that, okay, I don't know if the guy on the other end of this throw is going to make the play.
Yep.
And he had that with McConkey. He had that with Brock. Like, he knew he could just step back and rip it down there, and they were going to come up with it. That's not the case this year. So to get guys that can do that, you know without a shadow of a doubt, Dane Key is going to do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be open, and you're going to get it to him. And that confidence just builds and builds and builds. And the next thing you know, it's just every time you snap, every time you throw it, if it's to Key, that's guaranteed yards. That's your safety net. That's your, hey, we love this. This is what we're doing. So,
Ain't no doubt, and that's what makes football football. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
yeah. And then to make things better, the Hoop Dogs scored over 100 points tonight.
Hey man, let me tell you something. Year 2 right now is going to be really really good. You know, obviously we got to get into SEC play and things like that, but
The
you know,
SEC's good, man.
to put up 100 points, you know, and
It's good.
you know, to have guys, you know, starting to gel, and you know, basketball is in good hands. You know, it's really good to see. It's really good to see all our sports just kind of take over right now.
Yeah.
You know, and do really well. You know, it's great when you got an AD that pours money into each and every program that we have, new facilities and things like that. And you're starting to get, you know, the top tier talent. You know, one to stay in Georgia, and you're starting to attract, you know, people from all over the nation to come to Georgia too, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love it. And so, this basketball team is going to be good. They're getting some household names there. They're getting some guys that play well together. I mean, this league is going to be a lot of fun, man. This SEC play, because like I don't know. Like, usually you can be like, okay, well, Georgia's going to be bad, Vandy's going to be bad, South Carolina's going to be decent to bad. You know, I don't think I can really name a bad team in the SEC. Like, I think this could be a year where the SEC gets 12 teams in the tournament, right?
There's
And
no.
I think Texas and Oklahoma could be the worst teams. Mississippi State, I don't think is going to be very good. But like outside of that, like, I think this league is going to be really competitive.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You know, when all your teams can be competitive, you know, that just not only is great for the league, but it's just great for, you know, each and every individual school. You know, because it's bringing eyes, it's bringing money, it's bringing recruits. It just does so much for your program when all your sports are doing well. And you know, going from, you know, softball, soccer, football, you know, now going into basketball, you know, and then going into gymnastics and baseball, you know, and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes your program that much better. Your brand, you know, gets that much better. You know what I mean? Especially in today's world where brand means so much.
Yeah.
Having all your sports, do well, especially as competitive as the SEC is huge.
Yeah, no doubt. And the confidence level that you get coming into that is it can't be understated, because like you get on a run in conference play and you set yourself up for the tournament, and then now you're in good shape to make the real tournament. And so it's it's going to be a fun ride nonetheless. And I look forward to seeing what Georgia can do, because they're gonna knock somebody off. Like Tennessee, I think, is number one in the country. Nipping at their heels is Auburn. Like those are the best two teams in the conference and possibly the country. I think your national champion is going to come from the SEC.
I do too. I think so. I think if we play like we're supposed to, and seeing everybody that's just being so competitive now, with it being so early in the season, I think is going to make make the season go really well for basketball. And then, March Madness comes along. You just never know. You never know.
Yeah. You never know, man. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, the big three is starting to kind of take off at Georgia with Wes Johnson in baseball. Like he's going to be pretty good now. They hosted a regional, didn't make it out of that regional, but they hosted one, and so they're getting there.
Yeah, new facilities, all that good stuff. So it's going to be a sight to see. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And so, but we're going to leave you there. This basketball season is going to be fun. Portal season, of course, after Georgia handles business and raises another trophy, I'm sure they'll get some activity going in the portal a little bit more faster and a little bit more furiously, which is kind of a weird time to have the portal to be open with all the playoffs and stuff. But here we are. But that's going to do it for us. Make sure you have a great weekend. If we don't see you before then, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk and preview the upcoming playoff game, the quarterfinal, which is in the Sugar Bowl, and we'll talk more as things break. But until then, go Dogs, and we'll see you later.
Go Dogs.
Peace.